Australian made and owned, Hi-Tech Oils is one of the largest oil blenders in Australia with a truly national profile, supplying an extensive range of oils, coolant, grease, batteries and much more for all businesses and consumer needs. Choose Hi-Tech Oils for peace of mind.
Hello and welcome to stunning Monte Carlo for the 11th running of the Monaco Historic Grand Prix. Over the next 3 days, some of the most precious racing metal on the planet, from names such as Ferrari, McLaren, Williams and Lotus, are here to relive past glories and hopefully create some new ones. And they're doing it on the most iconic racetrack in the world. Now, these may not be contemporary racing cars, but let me tell you, their owners and drivers dream of taking the checkered flag just as much as Hamilton, Vettel or Alonso.
I did my first Grand Prix in 1977 here in Monaco. I won my first Grand Prix.
I loved Monaco. I always did very well here. I had 4 podiums in, I think, the last 5 years.
What is the special about it is, yes, racing in Monaco, yes, racing on a straight track, but the people, how the people reacting.
The Monaco Historic has an atmosphere like no other. All the fun of a festival, but when the racing starts, it gets serious. Sometimes too serious. So coming up, we have 4 races, all involving Grand Prix cars from different eras. First up will be the pre-war GP cars, normally one of the best races of the weekend. But as they do their final checks and prep, we can take a blast around the 2-mile Monaco circuit in something a little bit special.
The most demanding circuit in the world.
It's a circuit which, really rewards you because you go up against the barriers and you really have to make the car dance around over the bumps and you've got the elevation changes. So it's a very unique circuit.
Monaco is a wonderful place. It's a place where every driver has been dreaming first of racing and then of doing something good. Extremely challenging track.
Going through the tunnel, that's all you have to say about Monaco. Nowhere else in the world. The corner that I most enjoyed was Tabac, where you've come out of the chicane, you run down the side of the harbour, and then you've got that left-hand corner, and there was something about just getting the front wheel up against the barrier on the inside, but not touching it, and then letting the car float out under throttle, big 4-wheel power slide, and just miss the barrier on the outside.
It's not the corner where you just brake and you're turning and you go to gas, and no. You really have to create the extra momentum for your driving.
And the checkered flag.
Well, it really is fantastic stuff. What an iconic circuit. So let's get the cars out on track straight away then. And we're starting things off with these pre-war Grand Prix cars. So let's go and join your race commentators, Paul Tersey and Jonathan Green.
10 laps, pre-war Series A. The Monaco Historic is away, and a great start from the 24 of Nicholas Topless. He just dived into the lead as they head down to Sandovot for the first time. A beautiful start, and he really is off to the races, and up the hill he goes. And he's already building on that lead. Everybody safely through the first corner, but a fantastic start, and it looks as though the ERA of McAllister is being pushed back, sadly, so that's 2 cars of our field of, what, 20? Already out. And look at the lead he's building as he comes through the Casino Square for the first time and down the hill towards Mirabeau.
That was a Formula One start. The jinx
it was, wasn't
left,
it? Yeah.
And then coming up, overtaking the pole position man, Michael Gans, as if he'd gone to sleep.
Yep.
That's a lovely move from the 32 car of Anthony Sinopoli. There down the inside into Mirabeau. Round the station hairpin now, and he's going to be pushing on. I think we're going to see that car working his way up. He's pushing very hard into that car in front of him, the ERA, into the tunnel. They're going to be going there now. They're going to be side by side as they go into the tunnel.
Wow, what a beautiful sound too!
Side by side. Can you imagine the noise that those cars are making as they go through the tunnel?
And they are not holding back, are they? Look at this.
Beautiful. Sinopoli, yes, he's on his way, and we saw that car start very, very well early on, clattering over the chicane curbs. These cars, of course, not made for chicanes. These were very much more high-speed, flat-out motor cars, and that drum brakes, don't forget, on all 4 wheels. And drum brakes on all 4 wheels was pretty modern then. Let's face it, they were only just out of drum brakes just on the back, but. We now have this battle here. Again, down through the swimming pool.
He's putting some big pressure on, and I'm sure he'll line himself up at Rascasse for a move down the inside on the main straight, and here it comes. He's winding himself up for it. That's Halusa in the number 12, and putting some massive pressure as they come out of the last corner and down the main straight to complete the first lap. A beautiful start then to this 10-lap race.
Terry Crabb in that number 18 car, the bright blue car, perhaps a little bit slower than the cars behind him currently. He's perhaps the cork in the bottle there as they now get right up through Rascasse. Let's see the start again, and look at that
amazing start, wasn't it? Yeah, he really did catch them napping. And there you see, yeah, the one car not starting.
You can see the frustration from that green ERA there. It was fraught. I mean, I said on the green flag lap how they will all look after each other and care about each other and everything else. And look at this.
Great overtake, and again down towards Sandovot, another great overtake. And look at the camber on those wheels too, beautifully prepared. And this is a great battle.
Lucas Halusa there, uncorking the bottle with Terry Crabb in front of him, and he'll be trying to make some hay now as he pushes on up the long hill, and he'll be turning left into Massenet, which must be pretty daunting in these cars. I mean, if you look at this circuit, there are very few straight bits. That even the straights are curved, and we think about things like the tunnel. It's just one long curve, and that Terry Crabb now we're seeing coming under pressure from Urs Muller, and that's one of the more unusual cars in the race, and that's a Maserati. That's the 6CM Maserati. When we're seeing kind of a different evolution of the car, but that's a 1938 car, so really, that's really modern. Let's be honest about it. But 1938, it's only 80 years old. It's a new car. It's only 80 years old, so that's something entirely different. 26 crossing in front of us there.
Another spin up.
Oh, that was a bit hairy, wasn't it? That
was Michael. Was that Michael Gans?
That was Michael Gans.
It was, yeah. That's second place. It's just beautiful. I mean, what a sight. If you've got an adjust button, turn it to black and white on your television, and you're back there. You're back there in the late 20s. It's fantastic. Yeah. This is the first race of the 11th running of the Historic Grand Prix of Monaco. And this is where it all began in 1929 for Monaco. And of course, Formula One, which began in 1950. And Monaco has been part of that history ever since, and still to this day. They'll be here in 2 weeks' time to race this very circuit. Now he's got one more lap to go. He's got some lap traffic he's going past. Got to be careful here to hold it all together. The blue flags are waving. But we've got one more lap here for the Irishman, Paddings Dowling. Oh, no, and a big failure there, and out he goes and into the barrier. Luckily, just avoiding the barrier, but he just got, I don't know, it was a very big shudder on.
That was Napoleon. I think that was just brake judder.
Yeah.
I think that...
He did well. Watch this. Watch the car just completely shake down here. Boom. Yeah, that rear axle is moving. He did a fantastic job of holding it all together, missing the barrier. Look at that.
Dowling coming across now. He will be getting the checkered flag this lap.
There it is. The first race then here of the Monaco Historic for 2018, the 11th running of this wonderful event, and Series A is won by the Irishman Paddings Dowling.
Down here in the paddock, things are getting incredibly noisy. Ferrari, Lotus and many more are all set to go racing. It's 1961 to 1965, so let's go and join Andrew Marriott and Jonathan Green.
So then,
the Lotus 25 looking absolutely magnificent. Middlehurst wearing a blue crash helmet, pretty well the colour of Jim Clark. The Ferrari alongside it. Velasco, an absolutely beautiful machine. Ex-Bandini car, and Middlehurst, the Asa guy, tries to make a good start, but didn't find a way through. And Middlehurst it is with a Ferrari in second place as they race up the hill. I think it was James King in the Brabham in third.
what a beautiful sight, what a beautiful sound as these 1961 to 65 cars head up the hill towards and underneath the Hermitage for the first time and into Casino Square. Take it in, folks. What a sight.
Yeah, crossing the zebra there and then diving down, and a bit of it. Oh, 23 has ground to a halt, and that is
Frank Trilliard, the
Frenchman. The Lotus 21, the Scuderia Filippinetti car. So we see a replay of the start.
Yeah, you were right. That was a great Assegai move. He might have just crept a little there, but
yeah, I wonder if he didn't get second gear quite as crisply as he hoped.
Good clean start though.
Yeah, but it was a clean start all round, wasn't it?
Yep. Well, Middlehurst did a brilliant first sector in that last lap, and in fact he's up the game, 149.5, but to be fair, Kalasako has gone well with him in second place, a 149.9, and then it drops off to James King, a 152.366. He's in third place, ahead of Charles Nurberg, and then Rowley Collins, Beaumont Mole in eighth position.
So interesting to see the modern racer in the Mercedes and the British GT Championship, Lee Mole, doing a very good job in something very different. But obviously the big surprise in this is a car that back in the day would never have been this far up the field is the Assegai Alfa Romeo pad Formula One car driven by Ian Rowley. As we said, it really is a minnow amongst these as a chassis manufacturer, South African built car.
And that's Mr. John of B.
Mr. John of B.
Which I love. I think it's a great name as well. He's stopped in a good, appropriate place.
In a Lola.
He can have a coffee there.
Yep. Something's gone mechanically awry. There's the Assegai then. And you'd think that the Alfa engine wouldn't have the power of the Climax, which is climbing all over him now.
Yes, and probably will make a move towards Mirabeau, and he does down the hill.
Andrew Beaumont.
Just past the tip-top bar, great place for a pizza and watch a bit of motor racing. Nicely done. Not too many places to overtake at Monaco, of course, but that is one of the classics into Mirabeau. Well, and another one coming up.
Most of the current Formula 1 drivers tell you there's nowhere to overtake.
Yes.
Of course there is, but it's very, very difficult here.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Andrew. We have a race on here. Here are our leaders. Yeah. The gap is now, as you can see, down to less than 0.9 of a second. Colsacco just did the fastest lap of the race, and now we have an absolute race for the lead. What a great race.
Well, I didn't expect this at all. The Ferrari that Middlehurst has managed to beat in the past in this race without too much trouble. Well, Middlehurst really coming under pressure now. Galasco having a fabulous drive.
And he's right there with him.
Yeah, he's right there with him now. I just wonder
if there's a problem.
Yeah.
And here we go for the lead into the back. Can't quite do it.
Andy's a wily old bird. He's been racing for over 25 years, I think. And he'll be using all the tricks now. If he's got a problem, and I suspect he has, could be overheating.
Yes.
They were a little bit worried that the car was getting a bit hot round here. And I suspect that is the problem. And I suspect he's just trying to control that a bit. Let's just see what happens. Of course, he's also got to work his way through the traffic as well.
Well, we did mention that Middlehurst would have to deal with traffic. They're getting out the way. The Marshal's doing a really good job. They head towards Saint-Devote again for another lap completed. We're over the halfway point now, but we have a race on our hands for sure, and definitely out of shape there, Middlehurst, as he went through Saint-Devote and up the hill again. But like you say, traffic now a big factor.
Classic battle then of the 60s. Lotus versus Ferrari. It doesn't get better than that.
It's just great.
Ferrari's still in there racing in Formula 1.
And look at that, 148.8. He's up the time again, the man in second place. And he really is on it. And now the traffic is really in Middlehurst's way.
Yeah, it is. And Middlehurst held up then.
Oh, this is going to be tense. And they try to squeeze their way through, and he's done it.
Well done to the dark blue Lola. Is that the Assegai going into?
I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Sadly, it had a good run.
Michael Kerry of the Emerson has been given a drive-through penalty. Emerson, one of the little minnows of Formula 1. Paul Emery was the boss of that company and allegedly designed the car by chalking on the garage floor. Here they go past the...
And here comes Galasco. He's almost side by side into back. Can't quite get through.
He's trying everything, isn't he, Galasco?
Yep. Brilliant stuff.
Round past the yachts. Andy Middlehurst. Absolutely on it.
Yes, any question mark over whether this was an historic display is now completely over.
This is not a display.
Absolutely
this is
not.
Racing at its best. As they did in period, of course. Across the start-finish line again. 0.4 of a second between the pair of them. 8 laps in the book.
Now, they put the last lap sign out, but in the last race, they did it for the last 2 laps.
That's on our screen, isn't that? That's on the graphics. Another pits visitor.
And here he comes.
He won't make it round the outside.
No, surely not. Live to fight another day. His next opportunity, probably, if he can stay with him here and follow him through the tunnel, his next best option is into the chicane on the inside.
Or maybe into La Rascasse. It's another possibility.
Well, there's a bit of traffic here. This may play into it as well as they exit the tunnel. This is Galasco's best opportunity so far. He's going to tuck himself up behind the Lotus here as they come through the tunnel. Back marker right there in the way, and here it is, the Ferrari going for it, but he's not quite close enough. Middlehurst holds on. Great stuff. They're almost side by side as they go through the chicane.
Perfect line by Middlehurst, keeping the Ferrari back. Joe weaving about a little bit, trying to see and worry Andy Middlehurst.
Now, will the checkered flag come out?
Too tight here.
Yeah.
Too tight into the... no way around the swimming pool.
No.
And it's still saying last lap. We can't see from here if it's... I don't believe it is the last lap, Jonathan.
I think there's one more lap to go.
Yeah, I do.
We'll find out if the checkered flag comes out. Middlehurst has got it. Otherwise, we're in for a real barnstormer of a last lap, and it is. The checkered flag, it looks as though, is out, and yes, Middlehurst has done it.
He's held him off.
Group D. The Series D is won by Andy Middlehurst. A fantastic race, one that would be proud of any period of racing. But I think the likes of Sterling Moss, who won here in 1961, would have been pretty impressed with the way those boys hung it out, quite literally, here at Monaco in what was vintage stuff. Absolutely superb. Lotus versus Ferrari, early 60s stuff, and racing all the way. 33 cars on track and a lot of traffic to deal with.
Let's confirm the result of this race. Andy Middlehurst, the Nissan dealer from the Northwest, in a very British Lotus 25 Climax for Classic Team Lotus, wins this race from Joe Colasco from Connecticut. And so the presenter there, actually, was it he's stroking the badge of the Auto Club de Monaco?
I love it.
Well, the action will continue from here at the Monaco Historic Grand Prix right after the break. Welcome back to the Monaco Historic Grand Prix, where the scene down here by the harbour is just glorious. And I was lucky enough earlier on to catch up with a man who knows this part of the world only too well, scoring his first World Championship points here back in 1974.
It's amazing. I mean, half the cars in the paddock, with the exception of the pre-war cars, are cars that I've been associated with, driven. Some of them are good, some of them are better, but you know, to come back. And the atmosphere here for the historic weekend is very much more of it was during my Formula One period. It's more family oriented, it's not corporate, which makes it more relaxing, more enjoyable, and people are having fun. I mean, apart from driving beautiful cars on a fantastic street circuit, and can't get much better. I'm in a car, Lotus 18. It's the car that Sterling Moss, Sir Sterling Moss, won the 1961 Monaco Grand Prix, and he beat the might of the Ferrari works teams. One of those classic Grand Prix that Sterling dominated. So that's the car. It's owned by an American owner called Adam Nansman. So he's kindly let me have the use of the car for the parade today. Never get another opportunity, I'm sure, so very special weekend.
Well, John's certainly going to enjoy his day out here today. Back out on track now, though, time to go racing. And we move to post-1961 Formula One Grand Prix cars and Formula 2 cars. And our men in the know on this one, joining us for commentary, are Andrew Marriott and Paul Tarsi.
So, coming up then, Serie B, 1961 Formula 1 and Formula 2 Grand Prix cars. Green flag waving at the back. Lights will go out in a second, and they will roar off. And Padmore, did he jump the start? Did Padmore jump the start? The tech make very slow away indeed. And, well...
that was a dreadful
And then the
start.
Scarab's taking the lead. Unbelievable. We didn't expect that. Julian Bronson has taken the lead in the big American Scarab, and Nick Padmore has got work to do now.
But yeah, good question there, Andrew. Did he jump the start? Because he was very, very quick away. It was one of those, it was either perfect or he jumped the start, one of the two. But it's Padmore down into Casino Square. That Offenhauser engine in that car pulling incredibly well. That Julian Bronson has got that working in a way that the engineers back in the day when Chuck Day was driving it couldn't have dreamt about. Car's now down into the hairpin. And it's certainly, this is not a bit of luck that we're seeing for Julian Bronson. He's beginning to put a hefty stamp on this race, but Julian Bronson will be looking closely in his mirrors at Nick Padmore, who is not a man that you want to appear in your mirrors. It was Fulch Rossignol who is in third place in his Lotus, and then the Tech Mech is fourth. Those four are all nip and tuck at the front of the field as they come down into the chicane for the first time.
Yeah, Tony Wood defending his title, but he's going to find it a little bit difficult here, and Julian Bronson's going to make that card nice and wide. There's Nick Padmore, and I'd like to see that start again. I'm sure we will. This 10-lapper around the streets of Monaco and flashing past the marvellous multi-millionaire yachts in the harbour there. What a scene we have here in the French Riviera.
And we have an accident in the tunnel, and that's
yes.
the number 24.
Are we going to get a red for that? Let's see the start. He didn't jump the start. I saw the 5 lights come on. He just made a fabulous start.
I think he did.
Do you?
Yeah.
I hope we can see it again.
Oh, I see. Okay, so the Tech-Mech didn't get a dreadful start.
Tony Wood on the move in the Tech-Mech, just having a fastest first sector of the whole race. But Bronson, fastest third sector on the lap he's just completed. And Bronson's in the lead and he doesn't want to give it up. And he was saying to me, oh, I'm a bit old for racing these youngsters like Nick Padmore. Well, he's doing exactly that.
He's doing it with a vengeance, but it's Tony Wood who's got the only purple on the screen currently, and that's in Sector 1, and that's in the Tech-Mech, the number 48 car. But it's definitely Julian Bronson at the front of this field. Nick Padmore having to lock wheels in that very early front-engined Lotus 15, and that he's all over the back of that Scarab now. He's going to be looking down towards Saint-Devote. That's going to be a very, very difficult place to pass. It's a very quick corner. He lines up, he just does enough to show the front of the car to the car in front as they go round the corner, but that's going to be tough. Can he do it through Massenet? Massenet's very narrow. There's not a lot of room for one car, let alone two.
4 laps in the book. Nick Padmore is a professional racing driver. He might just think, I'm going to bide my time a little bit, see if Julian's making any mistakes. So he might do it here.
But Julian Bronson keeping well over to his right to try and get away from that. Padmore thinks about going down the inside of station hairpin, but doesn't. Instead of that, he's playing the waiting game. What he's doing is actually he's taking the racing lines whilst Julian Bronson is having to take a very defensive line, which makes it all the more difficult, and he's going to keep his lap times down. This, I think, is where we're going to see a try for the lead out through here into the chicane. That's where Padmore's going to go for it, side by side as they go into the chicane. But once again,
Bronson is fabulous on the brakes.
Absolutely great, and first class positioning of that car as well, that he made it sufficiently wide that there was nowhere for the car behind the number 30 Nick Padmore car to go, and those cars nip and tuck now. I think there's very little doubt that given a clear track, it's going to be Padmore who would be the faster of these two right now, right here. But that doesn't mean that Julian Bronson is going to give that place up willingly.
He's got it through there. The Rasgas, perfect manoeuvre. And Nick Padmore is in the lead in the Lotus 16 now from the Scarab. And it was going to be a tough call for Bronson to hold him off the whole race, as they are already overtaking the Formula 2 cars that are being lapped now. But Padmore at the half distance points goes into the lead from Bronson. Wood is in third place. Drive-through penalty for Padmore. You were right. I was wrong. Padmore. Jumped the start.
Oh, it's jumped by a country mile, and you can see that.
Well, I thought whatever. You were right.
So Nick Padmore drive-through penalty. Julian Bronson into the pits with engine problems. It's Tony Wood who's going to be at the front of this, and that this was
Barry Wood.
Sorry,
Barry Wood in the Tech-Mech. I got them mixed up as well. Tony Wood is in the Tech-Mech. Barry's in the Cooper Bristol. He's doing well in that, but that's in a different class.
So it's going to be.
This guy's coming out again, and Padmore just goes by.
You know what it is? He's had a drive-through as well. I bet that's what it is.
Jumping the start as well.
Yeah, I bet that's what it is. That when we saw the replays there, when Padmore went, a whole load of people went with him.
Yeah,
and it was the Tech-Mech that didn't, and he moved three or 4 feet and stopped, and he was engulfed by the first 2 rows. As they all went. So this could go any way you like, Andrew Marriott.
Yeah, this is a big surprise, but Nick Padmore probably can't believe his luck. Stop-go penalty. Probably thought, or drive-through penalty rather, thought that's it, I've lost this. But no, the two had pulled away so much from the rest of them that they are in first and second place. Although our timing screen is now showing Tony Wood in the lead in the Tech-Mech. Here it is, look.
Yeah, so, and that's the way it should be, because the first two have both been through. So the Tech-Mech, because I think that both of those have had a drive-through penalty, and I think that what we're seeing now is the only car on the front two rows that didn't jump the start is the Tech-Mech. Oh, don't throw it away now, as he locks up left front on the way into Raskas. He'll be coming across the line very shortly now, but he's the only one who didn't jump the start, I think, and I don't think
there's a checkered flag and a win then for the Tech-Mech.
So they pulled the checkered flag early. They've Tech-Mech.
They did 9 laps.
Tony
Wood
did 9 laps. Tony Wood delighted with that. There's Padmore from Bronson, across the line, nose to tail. It's going to be Tony Wood from Nick Padmore and Joachim Folch, with Julian Bronson in 4th place. What a heartbreak for him. That's incredibly tough. That's going to take pride of place, isn't it?
Yep, certainly is.
That's going to take... Did I tell you about the time that I won at Monaco a little bit? Yes, you did, Tony. Yeah.
You put that
you
next
mentioned
to the one
that.
he won 2 years ago in this same event.
Well, that really was a bit special, wasn't it? And excitingly, we're going to see some of those cars race in anger as well now, because out on track, it's the turn of Formula One cars from 1966 to 1972, brought to you by your commentators, Andrew Marriott and Paul Tersey.
We have a rolling start for this race, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget. So they'll be coming through in grid formation, well, not very much grid formation actually, and that we are away with that. That was a very, very scrappy start,
Scrappy, wasn't it? Yep.
And worked out very well for Bjorn Wertheim because he had 2 or 3 cars lengths as they went through. Green flag for all the cars as they come through, beginning already to string up just a bit, but it's Bjorn Wertheim who is in the lead. But already we're seeing Stuart Hall having something to say about that. He's tucking in, the cars pull over to driver's right to avoid that lumber side by side as they go into the right-hander. They're going down now to station hairpin. The McLaren all over the back of the march as they go to Petit Mirabeau, the right-hander. Then they'll be turning right into the tunnel, going through Portier now.
Watch for Duncan Dayton. He was fastest in the first sector, believe it or not. We expect Duncan to come up from his lowly starting position. He has won this race in the past on 4 occasions, no less, in the Brabham BT33. We're going to be watching for him. But at the moment, it's Bjorn Wertheim holding off a strong challenge from Stuart Hall, the Swede in front of the Brit, with Max Hilliard in 3rd place, another Japanese driver, Kubota, and then Paolo Barilla, the former Le Mans winner, in 5th place, ahead of Andy Soucek, the current Bentley team driver, and then Count Rossi. What a lineup!
What a lineup indeed. And besides anything else, look at the different manufacturers. We see the Techno right up there at the front of the field. That's a surprise. But we're seeing some absolutely beautiful cars, and as they come over, it's Wertheim keeping well over to the right as they cross the start-finish line, just to make sure that Stuart Hall isn't going to try and tuck his Yardley McLaren in on the right-hand side as they go into Saint-Devote, but that's not to be.
Stuart Hall, former world champion in sports car racing, as the BRM of Soucek has a problem. The P153, they're trying to bump start it, I think, as Stuart Hall tries down the outside again, but he's certainly not going to be able to get round the outside there.
And just looking at the grandstands, we have people putting up umbrellas, putting on jackets. We have rain. That's going to change this race. That's going to change this race.
This is a 12-lapper, this one, not a 10-lapper like the races we've seen before. And Stuart Hall said a world champion in the GTE AM class 3 or 4 years ago.
So we now have proper rain falling here, and that's going to put a very large Monegasque cat amongst these pigeons because we're going to see something very, very different now. Who stays out? Who says, yes, it's only a shower, we'll take a chance? Who decides that they're going to come in and put something a bit more wet weather tyre-y on? At the front it is still Wertheim from Hall, and then just a little bit further down we have Hilliard and Kubota, both of those 2x2 currently, the Surtees and the Lotus nose to tail for third and fourth, and we're seeing those cars cross the start finish line again, less than a second in it, first to second. My guess is that Stuart Hall will actually back off just a little bit to let his temperatures in the car settle down a bit. He's been very, very close to Wertheim for a couple of laps now. There we see the lead, and so it's 2x2. Oh, and we have
Matra. That's Royal Goth.
Yeah,
in the Matra. That's one of the cars has no golf connection, as it happens, but he just loves that car. And again, Stuart Hall harrying at the back of the march with the Swede at the wheel, the 37-year-old Swede who's been racing the best part of 20 years.
And I think we're going to see definitely a try for a change of the lead here. They're absolutely nose to tail through the tunnel. One of the overtaking places on this circuit
What's
is
happening
into
to
the
that
chicane.
rain, Paul?
He's not close enough this time.
The rain, it was just a little sprinkle. And I don't see that. There's certainly no spray coming up from the tyres, and that's good news.
Yeah, it's good news for us because it means that we can concentrate on these battles that we're already seeing.
But what a job Max Hilliard is doing, because he is a true gentleman driver. He runs a big food production company up in the north of England.
And he's just gone purple in the first section in that number 12 Surtees, and that he's already really pressing on. There's nothing between these two at all.
That Surtees is a car the great Mike Hailwood raced in period, and we've got one in the wall there in the tunnel.
Right,
and yellow flags waved.
Now, are they going to have to put a safety car out for this?
Well, I would have thought so. The start surprised me, Paul. I didn't realise they were starting that one, and I don't know why, because they never did in period.
Now there's
and there we've got the McLaren, and again, Stuart trying everywhere, but
that's just gamesmanship on Stuart Hall's part.
You notice that Hilliard has closed up because very experienced Björn Wertheim, and it's offline on the outside of the corner, is slowing up the pace a bit.
I think what you were seeing there with Stuart Hall just kind of pulling alongside Wertheim on the way into the hairpin. There's no way that he was going to overtake there.
SC safety car will be coming out.
That's going to change things. That's going to change things a lot. This is going to put the field back up to where it was before. Katsu Kubota will now start closing back up from his place in fourth place. Paolo Barilla and Michael Lyons, who are in fifth and sixth, will now be back into contention. Safety car is bringing the field under control now. We're seeing the slow-mo there of
that was Duncan Dayton in the 8.
And Adrian Newey.
Yeah, and Adrian Newey getting together.
Slowing everybody down so that he can do his jump when he wants to. He's running through Raskas now, turning right through Anthony Nogue, and he'll be crossing the line now. We're racing, and he does a perfect job there. He puts probably a second over Stuart Hall without really having to do anything else, just making his break really quickly. Stuart Hall now beginning to come back at him, but Stuart Hall now, of course, has Max Smith Hilliard right behind him and Katsu Kubota behind him. So that this race, if it wasn't exciting enough before the safety car, has absolutely come alive now. Just have a look there on the replay. He loses it on the way into Massenet, and that's our third place car.
Yep. Oh dear. And the Lotus 72.
That's Sandevot and Katsi Kubota.
Oh, so the second and third men have both made mistakes. Here he is, locks it up and just into the barrier.
Just enough. And here there's drama all over the place.
Oh yeah,
side by side.
Up in the air.
He's all over the back of that march in front of him, that ex-Frank Williams march. They crossed the line, finger and toes. 1 lap to go. We're on the last lap of this race. Stuart Hall, if you're going to do it, you have to do it now. Up the hill, and there's absolutely nothing in it. I think that what we've seen is Stuart Hall doing the dress rehearsal of this last lap, and that this is the time that he has to do it. My money says it's going to be down into Mirabeau on this next right-hand corner that he's going to try and do that. He's not close enough. He tries
down the outside, doesn't he?
But he can't actually make it work because... And, a feint onto the inside at Station Hairpin. That really is not an overtaking place. The next place that he's going to do it, if he's going to do it anywhere at all, is on the way into the chicane. So it's going to be really close up behind the march in front of him as they go through the tunnel, and then he's going to have to pitch in very tightly into the chicane. He's not close enough to do it this time. There's absolutely nothing in it, but it is Wertheim who's going to block him nicely.
Yeah, there are some cars that need to be past. Cars going to be lapped, I think, just to the final end of the lap. And while time is running out then for Stuart Hall in the McLaren M23 ex-factory car, raced by Denny Hulme in period, and the ex-Frank Williams March 711 with Wertheim, a car that was driven in period by a Swede, the great Ronnie Peterson, but now has Bjorn Wertheim at the wheel, and they come across the finish line now. And the checker flag goes out, and a famous victory for Bjorn Wertheim of Sweden in the March 711 from Stuart Hall, with Michael Lyons coming home in third place in the family Surtees.
So just time for the mechanics to fettle the engines before the next one. Join us after the break when we'll be bringing you all the action. Okay, so it's time to go racing with those classic Class C sports cars from 1952 to 1956. And as you can see, the weather's certainly not going to make it easy for them.
They go to 5. Out go the lights. Away we go then. And this is going to be a real run down to Sandevot, and a famous run indeed with these fantastic sports cars. But a good start by Chris Ward in the number 8 to lead them through for the first time. Everybody tiptoeing almost literally through Sandevot, and somebody actually going on the inside, missing the corner there, but not gaining anything. Just literally not wanting to outbrake himself and cause a collision. But away they go, and amazingly, everybody, it seems, through at least the first few corners.
And Chris Ward has done exactly what he needed to do to get in the front of that. But in second place, it looks like we have the Lister in second place with Fred Wakeman in third. So there's been a bit of a change behind Chris Ward. The spray, of course, is going to be a factor in this as well now. Thank goodness that these are closed wheel cars, not open wheel cars, although that doesn't augur well for perhaps races later on today. But it's Chris Ward who has pulled out into a strong lead as they go into Poitiers
for the first time, and this is going to be tricky. There is grease down, there's been oil down earlier in the day, and you can see the conditions are not easy. A braking point and then back on the power, not putting too much throttle involved because you could easily spin out. Now the course, of course, dries, but there will be a wet line and then straight back into the rain, and into your face it comes. Next big heavy braking point after Mirabeau is here, and as you can see, this is a tough corner. Left, then immediately right, and right again through the chicane and down towards to back for the first time.
Nick Riley got a tremendous start, and he's now in second place in that Lister that we see in our screens now, the number 44 car. Those two are now beginning to pull out, and it's Fred Wakeman behind them. And then we have the...
Tony Wood.
Yeah, it's Tony Wood, of whom we have spoken earlier, and that's Wakeman there, very much skittish through all that water, and there's a fair amount of standing water now, Johnny, which I think is something that they really don't want to see.
Yeah, this is very, very tough. I mean, this would be tough in 2 weeks' time in Formula One, in modern Formula One, I should say. But everybody going about it and not worrying too much about the conditions, but look at the standing water out of Noj, and that's not nice at all as they come through and onto the main straight. This is where it's going to be precarious into Sandoval under braking, but through goes the leader, and he has pulled out a 3-second lead at the moment. It's Ward, Short, Wakeman and Wood. Then Blakeney Edwards in 5th position ahead of Hunt, and 6th place at the moment. Gregor Fisken up to 7th, and then Rochman, Franklin. In fact, they're in a battle. Fredericks is with him, and Max Werner just behind him. Here's a look at the start.
There's the start, and Fred Wakeman moved across to try and make sure that he had the best line there. He moved across to his right, but it was actually the Lister that he should have been trying to cover off, the car with the yellow stripe, and that he tucked in very, very neatly as they went up Beau Rivage. And here we see the Maserati and the Ferrari. Doesn't that sound good? Maserati and the Ferraris battling down into Mirabeau. These cars are battling not only each other but this weather, and it's the weather which is probably going to win out in the end, because certainly it's raining very, very hard now here in Monaco. When it rains, it does rain, because there really is the mountains come right down to the sea, and the Principality is squeezed into the tiny little bit in the middle, and that when the rain comes off the mountains, that's just what happens.
Palusa with his wipers probably very happy indeed to have those wipers, as does the number 2. And that is, of course, Muller. Beautiful car. To Aston Martin. Oof.
Yeah, look at that. That's tail wagging the dog, very, very much so there.
Out front, Chris Ward. There he is in the number 8, doing a very good job. Just tiptoeing down Mirabeau and down towards the Fairmont Hotel for that long sweep round, that famous corner, one of the most famous in motor racing. And I'm sure they're watching in Spain right now ahead of their Grand Prix and going, I hope this doesn't happen in 2 weeks' time, because we do find Monte Carlo just a little bit tougher when it's like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys have done a tremendous job of putting on a really, really good show here. And that nobody has stepped back from this at all. You don't get the prima donnas who say, oh, no, we're not going to race because it's raining. But this is something different again. Chris Ward, great job doing what he does.
Well, rain or shine, nobody wants to not take the opportunity to go around this famous circuit. Doesn't matter what the conditions are. I think you'd be hard pushed for them to vote against going out, even though the conditions clearly aren't easy. I'm just amazed at the skill level of these drivers. Yes, there's a lot of experience out there, but this really does sort out the ability of some of these drivers to handle, like you say, these beasts. You described them as such. They are 3.5 litre big engine beasts.
Yeah, and they're not easy. They're very, very basic mechanics. They're everything else that they might be. They were homegrown sports racing cars. That's what they were. That's what they were for. And Chris Ward, they're taking the Cooper Jaguar now across the start-finish line, and that he has done a brilliant job. I said right at the start of this race that what he needed to do was to run away and hide to make sure that he could get away with this, and that's exactly what he did. That first lap actually set the seal for the whole of this race.
Ben Short just completing the lap. There he is, coming through your shot now, just behind the two cars coming across the line. Ben Short in second place, and I think now just wanting to keep it steady. Though his times are dropping. Wakeman just did his, Wood just did his fastest lap, a 1:12.3, or fastest sector, I should say. A little bit of traffic for Short, but I think he'll make short work of them too, because up he comes, the blue flags wave, and past he goes.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do, because some of these cars further down the field have a huge amount of grunt, but not necessarily having the road holding. So that when you get onto that quick bit up the hill, that they can floor it, and if you're in something which maybe doesn't have quite the power, then that might be something different. Obviously, that number 44 car with its Maserati engine is not short of grunt in its own way. There we see the number 42 car which is the Lister Bristol.
Here we go.
Another Cooper Jaguar.
Wow, I tell you what, that was very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky indeed.
I'm just going to go and see if I can buy a lottery ticket with the numbers that he's going to give me, because
no kidding.
That's exactly what you need to do. Look at this in front of us now, that we're certainly seeing this battle really joined.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ben Short is doing good work. We just saw him get past some back markers. His last lap at 2:24.7, and he really is pushing on in these tough conditions. I thought things would slow down as the race went on, but we're 8 laps in to this 10-lap race, and in fact, the leaders are increasing their lap times as the laps go on, and it's certainly not creating a dry line out there for sure.
No, and David Franklin going around the outside of Gregor Fiskin, trying to go around the outside through Saint-Devot.
Not an easy thing to do.
Does not work. And that was a very brave move, and that, in all honesty, all that Gregor had to do was to hold his line and hold his nerve, and that's what he did.
But out of the pool complex he comes, down towards the Rascasse, to a blast of applause from the crowd, still sat here under the grandstand in front of our commentary position. Through Rascasse he comes, slides it beautifully, and he won in 2016, and 2 years on here in very different conditions. Here he comes once again across the famous strip. And there's the checkered flag. Chris Ward wins again in sports cars in Series C. Quite rightly, the crowd is on their feet in front of us, applauding what was a great performance here at Monte Carlo.